Thank you for clicking on this review. I just got done watching the ISS. And with the ISS standing for International Space Station, we follow two groups of astronauts, a Russian team and American team, usually working in harmony, everything great, until down below, nuclear war has struck and their opposing countries have given orders to take over the International Space Station. And that's all pretty much there. Any spoilers, you guys? This will be a spoiler-free review. But first, I'd like to go ahead and thank sponsor of today's video, and that's Jarritos. Oh, Jarritos has been the one loyal, constant sponsor for this channel. I am ever so grateful. In the year 2024, make it part of your resolution to start drinking Jarritos. And if you're one of the many that have already gotten part of the family, you know, 12 delicious flavors to choose from. Anywhere from strawberry, mango, grapefruit, lime. They come in glass bottles, are made with real sugar, no high fructose corn syrup, all natural flavors. It's been really awesome to see some of you guys who have never had Jarritos before message in and comment down below that you tried it for the first time and you ended up being surprised with how much you enjoyed it. I would never steer you wrong. If I tell you it's good, you gotta believe me. So please use the link in my description so you could find the nearest location that sells Jarritos to you. I tend to get my restocks at Walmart. They have a 12 variety pack so you get all the delicious flavors to choose from. But maybe there's somewhere else you'd like to go shopping and, well, they'll tell you down below in that link. Thank you again to Jarritos for sponsoring today's video. When I first saw the trailer for the ISS, I was just in the theater. I knew nothing about this movie, had no idea it was coming out, but immediately, from the way the trailer played out and this premise of two astronaut teams usually working together and then them now having to fight each other in the secluded area, sign me up for 10 tickets. This seemed like a really great premise. It's definitely way better than what we expect from a typical January movie, so I was actually kind of anticipating this movie. On my drive to the theater, I was like, ooh, the ISS, man. Wonder what's gonna happen. And for the most part, I think this hit everything I was expecting or wanting to see out of this movie. There's been plenty of isolated space movies out there, some better than others, but I feel like the ISS hits that sweet spot. This movie only runs an hour and 30 minutes, so you're in and out pretty quickly. It's also not that large of a team on both sides. You have 3 Russian astronauts, 3 American astronauts. There's very little backstories to go around. But I think what helps the ISS stand out the most is just the grounded feel, that these are just regular people. These are scientists slash astronauts. Are they already having a little bit of tension or uncomfort with each other, having to live in this little space station, always floating around? Yeah, you feel all of that there, and the movie will very much play on your pre-assumptions of a bunch of characters in here. But then a few minutes into the movie, when they finally drop, you know, like, oh, the planet's at war right now, we just got a message to take over this place. They most likely got the same message. What do we do? That tension and suspense you feel throughout the movie, oh, it makes it sweet. The grounded feel of this movie really puts you in that scenario of like, what would I do in this situation? Can I trust the words coming out of this astronaut's mouth? Do I actually believe them? Is this actually part of a bigger ploy? And the movie does a great job with that. Plus, if you're like me, you've probably also always been scared of space and just like in an astronaut suit floating out there. There's tension-filled sequences that are going to play on your fear of just the open, endless space. And another positive I wanted to credit into this movie is I was afraid it was going to go very stereotypical with like who are the bad guys, who are the good guys. Obviously this being like an American geared towards movie, like even in the movie these astronauts that are supposed to know both languages, you know, Russian or English, you'll see the Americans go like, can you say that in English, man? Because I don't even know Russian. I'm like, oh geez, typical. I thought the movie could easily fall into the trap of like the Americans are obviously the good team and these Russians, man, these are the bad guys, but they do a blended mixture. There's some twists and turns in here I did not expect to see coming. And those different unexpected twists and turns I really appreciated that the movie took. Honestly, it was a very pleasant, fun time. It's a movie I actually recommend to you if you at all had any interest from the trailers. Now, I do have a couple of mixed things or negatives I have with the movie. For one, you do feel like towards the later half of the movie, they've maybe stretched this plot a little too thin, where they did have a great premise, but just having a great premise is not going to carry you to that full movie length mark, you know? And towards the later half, you can start to see some things that have easily could have been avoided through like a one-word sentence, or like maybe this didn't need to exactly happen, but for plot's sake and maybe extending out this movie a little bit, it did. And although I enjoyed the main character for the most part, I feel like she's the one that was given the least amount of backstory out of all the other members on the team. And that felt just a little weird because, well, she's the one we're mainly following. We're supposed to be sympathizing the most with her. Acting was on point, but I just felt like the story could have maybe fleshed her out a little bit more. And really just kind of like the biggest negative for me is the movie's ending. I felt like there just wasn't really a satisfying way to end this movie, knowing that there's a whole global war going down below. And the movie will remind you, it'll continuously show you shots of Earth and how covered it is in nuclear bombs. I guess that's something you can't just wrap up once you get done with the space station storyline. So I guess you can't blame the movie too much for that in its premise it's set up. But I feel like once the movie ends, there's going to be some people going, oh, that's how it ends. Okay. I still liked it. That's what I said. So for the ISS, I'm going to give action 3 stars in here. It's a secluded location, the space station. You do get a couple of action sequences with characters fighting in zero gravity, which is fun. An astronaut going out in space, wondering if he's going to get lost in the void. But a lot of those moments take a bit of a slow build-up to them. Comedy in the movie, I'm going to give it 1 star. There actually isn't a lot of funny moments in here. It takes it pretty seriously. There's a joke here and there, but honestly, I wouldn't even know when to repeat it to you. Drama in the movie, I'm going to give it 3 stars. I really thought they did an effective job with the premise they had. They set up the situation well, where I feel like you could teeter-totter between the American team and the Russian team. Who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? The metaphor that also stands for the war going on down below. Horror in the movie, I'll give 2 stars, mainly due to the scene with the astronaut out in space, because like I said, that is just a terrifying thing for me. The only thing hooking you on to not just floating off endlessly into the void is this little string, which I'm sure there's going to be astronauts watching this movie going, this is so inaccurate. But for the movie purposes, it was pretty scary. And suspense in the movie, I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. Now, once the nuclear war starts and you know you're on opposite sides of this war, you are immediately locked in and wondering who's going to make the first move, what are they going to decide to do, and that suspense of whoever makes the first move, I think is the most tension-filled out of the entire movie, while the other tension-filled events throughout don't always compare, and there's some predictable things you can see coming, but for the most part, very suspense-filled. Casual fans for the ISS, I'm going to give it a B+. Cinephiles, I'm going to give it a B-, and critically, I'm going to give it a B-. For the ISS, I think it is a simple but thrilling space movie worth checking out in theaters. Again, that's just my opinion on the movie. Like I said, if you checked out this trailer and the movie looked at all appealing to you, I think you're going to be satisfied with it. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think if you got around to seeing the ISS, what you thought they could have done better, some of the weird inaccuracies with astronauts and whatnot. Because I'm no astronaut, but there were some things in there I'm like, no way, that's code or part of the handbook. Anything and everything, be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.